The great palace of Avenari shone with golden lights, but inside its cold halls, silence ruled. At the center of the throne room sat Princess Solara. She was beautiful, tall, graceful, with glowing skin and silver-white hair flowing like a river. But no one dared look into her eyes, because her eyes were blind. And her legs had never walked. Born with her body broken, Solara had always been called the useless crown. The people whispered behind her back. Even her own family avoided her presence. Her father, Emperor Varkal, loved the empire more than his daughter. To him, she was a weakness, something to hide, not to show. Now, on her 18th cycle, was time for the royal bonding ceremony. In alien tradition, noble families would present their sons to the princess for bonding. A psychic link was formed, one that joined minds, hearts, and sometimes even souls. It was a sacred ritual, the first step to choosing a future ruler. But this time, no one came forward. The hall was full. Royal guards stood in silver armor. Alien nobles from across the galaxy watched. Some smirked. Others shook their heads. The air was heavy with silence, broken only by the princess's steady breath. She sat tall, even though her legs were strapped to the floating throne. Her voice was soft but steady. "Is there no one?" A noble from the Crowline species stepped forward, then laughed. "Why would anyone bond with a broken queen? She cannot walk, cannot see, cannot fight. She is empty." Gasps echoed. The emperor said nothing. Princess Solara did not flinch. She had heard worse her entire life. Still, somewhere deep inside her chest, something cracked. A small voice from behind the guards spoke up. "You are wrong." All heads turned. A figure stepped forward, out of the shadowed corner. He wore simple human battle armor, scratched and scarred. His face was calm, but his eyes burned like fire. He was a human. Most aliens looked down on humans, primitive, emotional, unpredictable. But this one did not look afraid. He walked forward with confidence. "You say she is empty. I say she is." Waiting for someone strong enough to see her value. The nobles laughed. "Who are you, human?" He stopped before the throne and gave a respectful bow. "Commander Jace Mercer, Terran peacekeeper. I offer my bond to Princess Solara." The room froze. Solara tilted her head. "You wish to bond with me?" Jace nodded. "Yes, I see more in you than they ever will." She smiled softly. "Why?" He didn't hesitate. "Because I've seen what true strength looks like, and I see it in you." Her heart skipped. She couldn't see his face, but his voice, it was warm, steady, and full of something she had never received from anyone outside her nurse. Respect. The emperor rose from his seat. "Human, you speak boldly. But bonding is not a game. It links minds forever." "I know," Jace replied, standing straight. "And I'm ready." The royal AI chimed in, scanning both of them. Potential match, 92.3% bond compatibility. Psychic match confirmed. "Shall I proceed?" Whispers exploded across the hall. "No," shouted a noble. "This is madness. She's blind. He's a primitive. He's just doing this for fame." But Jace didn't look away. Neither did Solara. She held out her hand, shaking. "Then, let's see if your heart is truly open." He gently took her hand. A beam of light surrounded them both. The AI's voice echoed, bonding initiated. A surge of energy passed. Between them, memories, emotions. Solara saw a battlefield. Fire. Pain. The feeling of holding a dying friend. Then she felt warmth. Peace. A small flower held in a scarred hand. She gasped. Jace saw her childhood. The loneliness. Fear. The hunger for love. He saw her sitting in a cold room with no windows, learning to speak with her mind because no one cared to talk to her. When the bond ended, both were crying. But they were not weak. They were glowing. The room fell silent, for the first time in her life. Solara felt something inside her chest, like a star finally breathing. Jay stepped back and whispered, "You're not broken, just waiting." And in that moment, a broken crown began to shine. J.C. Mercer didn't sleep that night. After the bond with Princess Solara, whispers followed him through every corridor of the palace. Some guards refused to salute. Nobles looked at him with disgust, like he had committed a crime. But Jace didn't come here to win their approval. He came because of a promise. Long ago, on a distant battlefield, Jace had watched a friend die, not because of wounds, but because she had been ignored. Her people thought she was too slow, too weak. Jace never forgave himself. Since then, he made a vow. Never walk away from someone the world throws aside. And now, that vow brought him to a blind, paralyzed alien princess. Shining with quiet strength, the next morning, Solara asked to see him. Not in the throne room, in the Garden of Silence. Song's a hidden part of the palace where only the royal family could go. Jace was guided through a winding path surrounded by glowing trees. Strange alien birds sang with notes so soft they made your chest ache. He found her sitting alone on a floating chair, hands folded. "You came," she said gently. "I said I would." He replied. She turned her head toward him. "Tell me, Jace, what do I look like?" He blinked. "You don't know." She smiled sadly. "No mirror, no real friends. The servants never described me, and the ones who did only told me I looked like a ghost." Jace knelt beside her. "You look like someone who carries stars in her veins. Your hair is silver moonlight. Your face is soft but strong. And your eyes—" She tilted her head. "My broken eyes. They're not broken," he said. "They just see differently." Her lips trembled. No one had ever spoken to her like that, not even her own mother. For a long moment, they sat in silence. Then she asked, "Do humans value weakness?" Jace shook his head. "No, but we value those who fight, even when they're afraid. We honor those who survive pain with grace. You've done that. You're a warrior, just one that fights quietly." Suddenly, her hand lifted and lightly touched his face. "This is strange to me," she whispered. "What is?" "Being seen," she said. "Not as a burden, but as someone worth knowing." Jace smiled softly. "Then get used to it, because I'm not going anywhere." In that instant, something changed between them. The bond between their minds grew warmer, deeper. Jace didn't just feel her thoughts, now he could sense her emotions. A swirl of fear, wonder, hope, and something else, danger. Her mind trembled with a dark memory. A voice whispering in shadows, plotting her death. A betrayal hidden inside the palace. Solara gasped. Jace grabbed her hand. "What did you see?" She shook her head. "I don't know. It was a shadow. Someone close. They plan to end my life before the next moon cycle." Jace's face hardened. "Then we'll find them. But I promise no one will harm you." In that silent garden, Jace made a new vow to just protect her, but to uncover the truth, even if it meant standing against the Empire itself. And far above them, in the Royal Observatory, someone watched through hidden Takais, full of rage. The bond had begun. Now, it had to be destroyed. Princess Solara sat alone in the Chamber of Echoes, a room deep beneath the palace, where the walls remembered every voice spoken within them. The air shimmered with faint psychic energy. Her floating chair glided silently over the stone floor. As the torches flickered blue, she wasn't here by accident. This was where her mother, Queen Elara, had once trained in secret to master the ancient bond art. Most thought the skill was extinct, lost to time. But the bond between Zilara and Jace had awakened something old, something powerful. Zilara closed her eyes. Suddenly, she felt it. Not sound. Not vision. Presence. Jay was thinking of her. Far above, in the training yard, Jace sparred with alien guards. His body moved fast, precise, but his mind, his thoughts were not his own anymore. Zilara felt his heartbeat, his pain, and something strange. His memories dot in a sudden flash. She saw through his eyes a battlefield under red skies. Screams. Fire. A wounded child clutched in Jace's arms. He was crying, begging the medics to hurry. Zilara gasped. She wasn't just linked to him. Now she was inside him from across the palace. She whispered into his mind, Jace, is this what pain feels like for you? Jace froze mid-duel. The guards looked confused. He heard her voice not in his ears, but inside his thoughts. He stepped back. Zilara. Yes, she replied silently. I can feel you now. Even? When I close my eyes, he whispered back, this isn't normal. Our bond, it's evolving. But someone else was listening to dot high above in the Royal Intelligence Tower. The head advisor's Encore, a snake-like alien with metallic skin, watched the neural data from the princess's throne. He hissed, they've crossed into phase 2. Unacceptable. He turned to his assistant. Prepare the psychic disruptor. If we allow this bond to complete, she unlocked the echo flame. The what? The assistant asked, nervous. Zincor narrowed his glowing eyes. A power. Born only once in 10,000 years. Her mind could crush empires. If she masters it, we're all shadows. Back below, Zilara opened her eyes. Jace, she said aloud now, there is something inside me, something alive. He entered the chamber slowly, still panting from training. I know, I feel it too. She extended her hand. Touch me. When his fingers brushed hers, the world faded. Time stopped. In that moment, their bond solidified. Their minds fully aligned. JCE felt her emotions as if they were his own. Years of rejection. Aching loneliness, quiet hope, and now something. New fire, a blazing energy building inside her chest. Zilara suddenly floated higher. Her chair's anti-grav systems overloaded and powered down, yet she hovered in midair. Her silver hair began to rise. Her body glowed. I see. Through you, she whispered. Your vision. Your heart. Her eyes, once milky and pale, sparked. With faint golden light. Zilara, what's happening to you? Jace asked, stepping back. She whispered, I think I'm awakening. Then boom. The chamber doors exploded inward. Palace guards stormed in, led by Zincor himself. Seize. The human, he barked. End the bond. Jace drew his plasma blade, standing between them and the princess. You'll have to go through me. Zincor raised a device glowing with red crystal. The disruptor will end her powers forever. She will return to her broken state, and you will forget her. Zilara screamed. Her mind reached into Jace's, like a wave crashing against stone. Don't leave me, she cried in panic. Jace's blade ignited. He stood firm. And behind him, Zilara rose higher. Her voice echoed through every mind in the room, not spoken, but projected. I am not broken. I am becoming. The palace had never known such silence after such chaos. The chamber of echoes was sealed. Smoke still clung to its ceiling. Guards lay unconscious from the force of Zilara's awakening. The psychic disruptor had melted in Zincor's hand before he could even activate it. But now a new fear spread like poison across the empire. The blind, disabled princess had power. Real power in the private royal infirmary. Jace sat beside Zalara. Her body was weak after the awakening, but her mind was sharper than ever. Her silver eyes no longer stared blankly. They shimmered now. She couldn't see the way others did, but through Jace's bond, she sensed movement, color. Shape life? Are you in pain? Jace asked softly. She shook her head. No, but I feel something else. A shadow. Jace leaned in. A shadow, yes, she whispered, in my memories. There's a piece that never fit. A lie. Jace frowned. Whose lie? She closed her eyes and touched the bond again. Together, they dived deeper into her mind past the sadness. Beyond the loneliness, into a memory buried so deep it had no color. She was a child. 3 cycles old. Her mother, Queen Alira, leaned over her, whispering something in her ear. A phrase she hadn't remembered until now. Trust no one in red. Suddenly, it clicked. Zincor, the Emperor's trusted advisor, wore crimson robes. Every day, Zalara's eyes opened wide. It was him, Zincor. He feared the echo flame. He made sure I stayed weak. Jace's face darkened. He's not just scared. He's planning something. They both knew now. The attack in the chamber wasn't random. It was part of something bigger. And the enemy wasn't outside the palace. It was inside, far away, deep beneath the capital city. Zincor met in secret with a hooded council representatives of old bloodlines. Those who had ruled before the throne existed. She has awakened. Zincor hissed, his metal scales twitching with tension. If we don't stop her now, she will ascend to the Min throne. A female voice from the shadows responded. We were promised a weak heir, a puppet. Zincor slammed his clawed hand on the table. The human ruined everything. Another whispered, then separate them. Break the bond. Zincor smiled. Coldly, I know just how. We will bring him home. The next day, a diplomatic ship arrived from Earth. With it came an official message. Commander Jace Mercer is hereby ordered to return to Terra for urgent military debriefing. Refusal will be seen as abandonment of post and betrayal of Earth. Jace stood frozen. He read the message again and again. It bore his commanding officer's code. It was real, but it was also wrong. Zalara looked at him, her voice calm but trembling. They're trying to take you away. Jace nodded slowly. They know if we stay bonded, you'll unlock more. She reached for his hand. What will you do? He didn't answer right away. He walked to the window. Outside, the alien sun was setting behind the crystal towers. A soft wind carried the sound of music, Solara's people celebrating something they didn't understand yet. Jace turned. His eyes were serious. I'll go, he said. .exe. Lara gasped. But I'll return. She shook her head. They will try to silence you. He stepped closer. Then make them regret it. He leaned down, pressed his forehead gently against hers. Stay strong, if anything happens to me. Follow the signal in the bond. Zalara nodded, her eyes shining. And if they hurt you, smiled. Then you show them what a blind princess with fire in her soul can do. And with that, he was gone. The ship rose into the alien sky, and somewhere in the shadows of the palace, Zincor watched with a smile. Let's see how long love survives across the stars, he whispered. But he didn't know the bond wasn't fading. It was burning hotter than ever. The palace was quiet but not peaceful since Jace's forced departure. Everything felt ... hollow. The halls that once echoed with his footsteps now rang with silence. Zalara sat in her private chamber, her fingertips lightly touching a small data crystal he had left behind. Inside it were messages, his thoughts, his feelings, his memories. She listened to them at night, again and again. But tonight was different, because tonight the bond pulsed. Not gently, violently. Lara gasped as a sudden rush of heat shot through her chest. Her fingers trembled, her mind filled with static, and then his voice. Not from the crystal, directly from the bond. Zalara. Jace's voice echoed in her skull, strained and broken. She clutched her head. Jace, where are you? But there was no reply. Only Flash's metal bars, dim lights, pain. He wasn't on Earth. He had been taken. The order to return had been a lie. And now, he was suffering. Zalara's breath grew heavy. Then everything around her began to float. Her chair lifted first. Then, the bed, the table, even the walls began to shimmer. The lights flickered as if the entire palace's energy core had been touched. Her eyes once, pale now, glowed gold with burning fire. The room's security AI triggered. Power surge detected. In Royal Wing, initiating containment. But the locks melted. The doors shattered outward. Zalara floated into the corridor, not by technology, but by will alone. Her hair flowed behind her like silver flame. Her mind stretched out through the palace like a web she could feel every presence, every voice, every lie. And one name echoed across them all. Zincor. He had taken Jace. He had lied to the court, and now he would answer. Guards appeared in front of her. Princess, please return to your chamber. She raised her hand, not in anger, but in command. With a flick of her fingers, their weapons flew from their hands. Gently, she lowered them to their knees, not hurting them, but bending them to the weight of her mind. I am not here to destroy, she said softly. I am here to wake, and the palace woke up. Statues began to shake. Old hidden texts in the walls revealed glowing runes, written in the first tongue. Ancient systems reactivated systems no one knew existed. Zalara wasn't just royalty anymore. She was resonating with the mind thrown deep in the forbidden core of the palace. A beacon ignited, sending a wave of psychic light into the stars. Every sleeper, every bloodline descendant with the echo flame felt. It's a new queen was rising. Meanwhile, Zincor stood in the upper war chamber, watching the lights flicker red. Impossible, he hissed. She should have been broken without the human. But he was wrong. The human hadn't given her strength. He had simply unlocked it, and now it was free. Zalara entered the central court alone. Hundreds of nobles watched as she floated above the golden floor, her arms glowing with golden rings of energy. I am Zalara, daughter of Queen Illyra, bearer of the echo flame, she declared. I speak through bond and mind. I am not blind. I am not broken. I have awakened. The nobles tried to speak, but their thoughts slowed. The psychic weight of her mind pressed on them gently, not as an attack, but as proof. Where is the human? She asked. No one answered, but she already knew. Her mind reached through the stars and far across space. She felt his pain again. This time, clear. He was alive, trapped, but holding on. She looked up toward the stars. I'm coming. Jace, she whispered, and the universe listened. Commander Jace Mercer was alive, but barely. He was locked inside a gravity cell hidden deep within an unregistered space station orbiting a dying star. The walls glowed with suppression runes designed to block psychic connections. His armor was gone. His wrists were chained. Time had no meaning here. Only pain, only waiting. But he kept whispering her name, Zalara. The guards thought he was broken, but they didn't know she was listening. The bond was weak, like a fading signal, but every time he whispered, she felt a pulse inside her chest. And somewhere deep inside her palace, she built a plan, not a war, a rescue. Meanwhile, in the cold prison, the door opened with a hiss. Jace didn't lift his head until a familiar voice whispered, "Still alive, Terran?" He looked up sharply. You? Standing before him was Tarl Ven, a former enemy commander from the Draxian Wars. They had fought on opposite sides, once tried to kill each other. What are you doing here? Jace growled. Tarl smiled. I owe your princess a debt. Jace's eyes narrowed. What kind of debt? Tarl bent down and tapped the floor. A secret panel opened, revealing a small pulse beacon. She saved my sister, he said softly. Gave her medicine during a border raid. No questions asked. He handed Jace the beacon. You activate this, she'll find you. But once you do, Zincor will know. So ask yourself, are you willing to put her in danger? Jace looked. At the beacon, Zalara had already given him everything: trust, truth, her heart. Now, it was his turn. He pressed the button back on Avenari. The signal shot through Zalara's mind like lightning. She stood in her war chamber, surrounded by floating maps and communication nodes. Nobles had gathered to demand she step down to Young. It's too dangerous, too emotional, Thea said. But they stopped speaking when her eyes lit like suns. He's calling, she said. A general stepped forward. Princess, if you leave now, the council may remove you. You'll lose your crown. Zalara didn't hesitate. Let them try. But your highness, the advisor whispered, the law binds you to the throne. Your powers are tied to this world. Zalara turned, her voice calm. My power is tied to him. And with that, she walked to the hangar. She didn't need an army. She needed a ship with stealth, speed, and one goal. Bring him home. As she prepared to depart, an old servant stopped her at the gate, handed her a pendant, her mother's final gift, never opened. Inside was a crystal chip. When inserted into the console, her mother's voice echoed. If you're hearing this, my daughter, it means you've bonded and awakened. Know this: your throne is not these walls. It is any place where you choose to stand. Zalara smiled through tears. She lifted off, her ship sliced through the stars, and in the cell, Jace felt it. He smiled, blood on his lip. One. Eye swollen but his heart steady. She's coming. In the control tower, Zincor slammed his fist on the console. Interceptor. He roared. Shoot her down if you must. But it was too late. The bond had chosen. Not the council. Not tradition. Not fear. Love. The stars burned brighter that night. Princess Zalara's stealth-class ship tore through space like a silver arrow. Guided not by maps, but by the pulse of her bond with Jace. Every breath he took, every beat of his heart, echoed inside her. Mind. And then she saw it. A hidden black stone prison orbiting a dying star, shielded by ancient cloaking tech. But no cloak could hide it from her now. She had come not as a princess. She had come as a storm. Inside the prison, alarms blared. Zincor stood at the command platform, his red cloak fluttering as guards scrambled around him. She's here. He spat. Lock all gates. Engage suppression fields. Kill the human if she gets close. But deep below, Jay's weak, bruised. Chained smiled because he felt her fire. She was near Zalara, didn't wait for permission. Her ship broke the landing bay shields with a psychic shockwave. Metal bent around her as she stepped out alone, her silver hair glowing like light. Her eyes blazing gold. Guards ran at her with plasma rifles. She didn't raise a weapon. She raised her mind. With a single wave of her hand, their weapons melted. Another thought tanned the floor beneath them, turned weightless. Sending them drifting like dust, she moved with silence. Focused, unstoppable, every locked door opened before she touched it. Every trap failed before it triggered. This was no longer the disabled girl they once pitied. This was the new queen rising. She found him in the deepest cell. Jace, barely able to lift his head, smiled. You made it. She knelt beside him, touched his face. "I told you I'd come." The chains around him exploded with golden energy. She helped him stand, supporting him. Not with strength, but with bond. His hand slid into hers, and together they rose. On the command deck, Zincor prepared the final weapon, thought disruptor strong enough to fry her mind. "She thinks love will save her," he hissed. But as Zellara and Jace entered the deck, she spoke not with words, but with will. The disruptor sparked, then shattered. Zincor screamed. But she stepped forward, lifting him off the ground with her mind alone. "You tried to erase me," she said coldly. "You feared what I might become." He choked. "You're nothing without that human." She smiled gently, and fear us both. With one final surge, she pushed him into the core. Gone. The prison fell silent. Jace leaned against her, catching his breath. "So, what now?" She looked toward the stars. "We return home." Back on Evanari, the palace gates opened as the royal ship landed. Crowds had gathered, nobles, soldiers, common people. "Our roommate's already spread." She went alone. She destroyed the prison. She returned with the human alive. Zellara walked forward, hand in hand with Jace. She stood before the council and spoke with a calm royal voice. "I was born blind, born broken, born unwanted, but I see clearer than all of you. Not with my eyes, but with my heart." She paused. "I don't need your crown to rule. I need your trust." The crowd fell to one knee, and the emperor, her father, stepped forward. His voice shook. "Forgive me, my daughter. I only saw weakness." She looked at him, then at Jace. "No," she said. "You just never learned to see it all." Then she turned to the people. "I am your queen, not by birth, but by choice." And they roared her name, not as a princess, but as a force, as hope, as a new throne built, not on power, but on love.